Hello, friends, fellow bibliophiles, and zombie lovers. Welcome to Cat's Novel Adventures and another live chat. And I am joined today by the fantastic zombified Kelsi of Slime and Slashers.
Hello, I don't know why I stuck my tongue out. Zombies don't really do that, but hey, I do when I'm a zombie. Anyway, I should have named my name. I forgot. I am putrid as well.
Right.
Like my first name. Because Kat made us all pick zombie names, and you have to, use your first name, the letter of your first name, and then the letter of your last name. And Kat and I obviously both start with K, so we're both putrid. Yes, bitch. Putrid.
Woo-hoo! We're putrid. And we're proud.
Putrid and proud. That's so ridiculous.
Oh, I'm so excited that you are here with me to discuss tonight our group read, Night of the Living Trekkies by Kevin David Anderson and Sam Stahl. Awesome book, in my opinion, Kelsi.
Yes. I gotta say, right off the bat, I'm gonna tell you guys my rating. I gave this thing a 5 stars. It totally surprised me. I didn't think I was gonna love it like I did. And maybe because I had these low expectations going in, that's why I loved it as much as I did, but I gave it 5 full stars. It felt so enjoyable. It read fast, great characters, and I think that's a big part of it is it wasn't just about the comedy or the horror. It was about so many things. It mashed up like fandom of Star Trek. It had Star Wars references as well. So you had like the 2 big star freaking fandoms represented. I loved that so much. Also, it had the comedy.
Legendary movies.
Yes. It had like the comedy, it had action, it had horror, it had like really relatable characters who were actually pretty fleshed out, and some badass women characters that I liked too. So it had so much going for it. A lot of people in our private book club, because this was also the pick for our private book club that you and I run, and people really liked it from our club as well.
Yes. And it should be no surprise because I have been saying how much I've loved this book. 5 stars for me, 5 stars, because I'm telling you, it had everything I was looking for in a zombie book. It had humor, it had heart, it had horror, and there are some heroes in the story as well. So it's all the H's, which makes me happy.
It made me happy too. Yes, I'm going to continue on with the H's, I guess. It was really just so well done, I think, overall. I think the authors did such a great job of combining so many elements. And the best part, I think, is that a person could read this without even having liked or known very much about Star Trek. I think it takes a lot of skill to write a book that's so niche, but make it approachable and digestible for everybody. Like, even if the person wasn't a big Star Trek fan. I love that. I am a Star Trek fan, but I will specify I'm more of a Next Generation fan than the original series. And I feel like the book does reference the original series more. And I would not win any trivia contests like Gary in the book. The character Gary, he could totally win contests, but I would not when it comes to the original series. I would probably about the Next Generation, but even though there was more references to the original and I'm not that well versed, I wasn't confused. I wasn't like, oh no, I don't understand. I don't know what this is about. I don't know what this is in reference to. No, it was all easy to digest and to absorb and to still like and have fun and understand everything.
100%. I am 100% with you. I know what Star Trek is. I know a couple of the characters in Star Trek, but I have never watched the series. However, I love Comic-Cons. I love zombies. The fact that you can mash those 2 together and create this fantastic zombie story with wonderfully well-developed characters that you actually care about, at the beginning, you're trying to learn it and all that. And then by the end, you're like rooting, and some characters surprised me. Like early on, I was like, I don't know if I really care for this one so much. Towards the end, feeling totally different. There's twists, there are turns. And like you said, I don't think you have to be a Star Trek fan to be a fan of this book. I
Yeah.
really don't think so. I mean, this book really has all of that. So if you've ever attended a Comic-Con or you just like zombies, that is enough, I think, to get it.
Yes, and the audiobook, by the way, is fantastic. Kat read with just her eyeballs. I
Yes,
read with
it's fun.
eyeballs and with my ears, and I enjoyed the audiobook very much. I had other people in our book club together that also used audio and enjoyed it, and our book club member Vanessa, who's in the chat right now, book_obsession. Check out her; she's awesome. She's one of my favorite people, so sweet. But she is not a Star Trek fan. She doesn't know much about Star Trek, but she still
Right.
loved it. And she gave it 5 stars. So, guys, what did you guys rate it in the comments? We know Vanessa's rating, we know Kat and my rating, but what are you guys' rating? I saw that Amy down below gave it a 4. That's very high and good. She said she had fun with it.
Hey, Vanessa again.
Thanks for hanging with us for more than an hour at this
Yes,
point.
we appreciate it. Hey, Amy.
Amy.
My last name is also Fleshington. Yeah. So we, and I think, Vanessa, I'm sure you agree, Fleshington sounds so fancy for
It
a zombie
does
name.
sound fancy. It's like I think mine. I have to look up mine in your Discord while you're chatting and with the
We
comments. I'm gonna
are
look
we
mine
are
up.
the Fleshingtons, and we are very fancy.
Fancy.
So we have Crystal here. Hey, hey, hey.
Crystal.
I'm gonna tell you what, Crystal has been, I even told her today, you are knocking it out of the ballpark with her zombie reading and her zombie watching. So much good stuff. I'm so happy I have a Discord because so many great titles, not just from Crystal, but everybody else who's participating, that I may end up with a bookcase just full of zombie books. Not a shelf, not just two, but probably a whole entire bookcase,
Yes.
because it's just gotten so many great books. I didn't even realize how many zombie stories are out there. It's incredible. So like you said, Amy said, wow, that's awesome. I gave it 4. Very fun. I'm happy to hear that, Amy. Hey, Jasmine, how are you doing? What did you end up rating it? Because Jasmine was telling me in the Discord how much she liked it. I had such a good time with this book. Yes, and I'm going to read something. Well, I guess I can't read it yet until we get to spoilers, but Crystal posted something in Discord I thought was really great. So I would like to share that when we
Yeah.
get into it. Hey, Halko, how are you?
We are going to talk spoilers, as Kat said, but she'll put a little banner to warn anybody who might not have, already read the book, just in case. So we will warn you guys. Don't worry.
Yes, we will. Hey, Swamp Gas, I'm glad you liked it. It was my first zombie book and enjoyed it. That's awesome to hear.
Yay!
Awesome to hear. Yay, audiobooks just dropping in. I saw y'all live. Hey, Margaret, how are you? I used audio, and yes, I thought it was very good too. Yes, we got some really great feedback about the audio. I think it's Larry something. I should have written his name down. But from what I remember when I was looking to see, because I didn't really recognize him, but he was in Monster in Law or Monster Mom or something with Jane Fonda.
Uh-huh.
And so I'm glad they had a good actor for it. 4 stars for Margaret. Not
For
Margaret.
Crystal.
Swamp Gas has 4.6. I'm looking at Margaret in the
I know
the
that's
chat.
exactly what happened. I could tell you were looking
I'm
down
looking
at
over
the
here and trying to do this at the same time. Obviously, I can't multitask. I'm still plugging away at my last May of the Moderns book and a psychology book. Just finished listening to Hula. Really good summer read. Awesome.
fun.
You Rally says you have a whole empty bookcase right there ready for it. Yes, I do, but I am filling it up. I actually have a method to my madness with this bookcase, but I'm filling it in slowly with different themed, because I thought about filling my bookcase like alphabetically and starting there and then meander into the rest of the stuff. And I'm like, no, that's too much. It will take me forever to reorganize. So I'm doing it by themes. I have my Agatha Christie shelf. I have a zombie shelf, but I think that's going to be a bookcase. And I also decided, whenever I decide to show y'all this bookcase eventually, that I think I'm going to have one that I change out, so that whatever I'm currently reading, I can have it thematic
Kind
for
of
the
like
month.
TBR shelves. Like some of the shelves will be
Yeah.
what you want to read for the year or the upcoming month or whatever.
Yeah, something like that. And then I've got to get books hauled so that I can start putting them places, because that's a big issue. This I think is the best book I've read this year. 5 stars easily. Yes, yes.
That's
I'm
so
loving
great.
that. I'm loving hearing all that. 4s and 5s. I love it. It does sound fancy. You see, the
Constant.
Fleshingtons.
I'm
We
just a
will
skeleton, so I'm just putrid skeleton. Like it's all right. Like it's
skeleton
okay.
or skellington.
It's not skeleton. I wish it was skeleton, but it's skeleton. I said it weird at
Well, I
first.
guess you could be fancy, depending on how you say it.
I want to be Skellington, like Jack Skellington, but
That's right.
but
That's right.
putrid
Well, you know what you
apparently.
could do? You know how when people came from the old country, they had one name and they changed it when they came to America. Well, you're in America and you can pretend like you went abroad and you've changed it to Skellington.
Yes, that'll work. I can do what I want.
You can do what you
I'm
want. You
coming
can
to
do what you
America
want.
as a zombie, and I want to express my fancy zombiness.
Night of the Living Trekkies is actually my first 5 star of the year.
Oh my god,
Awesome.
I love
That is
that.
awesome. Fun. I love that. The Fleshington
Fancy
host
party.
fancy parties. Yes, we do. Only the fancy can attend. Ooh, just heard thunder. Perfect time to be reading or watching a great show.
Ooh. I like how that sounds evil the way you read it. Yeah.
So I am so glad that people loved it. I really can't wait to tell Kevin David Anderson. Hopefully, he will watch our chat. Uh, Most of you, I think, know already that he has joined the Discord and has been participating in there, showing us some really cool art. As far as what the covers look like in different countries. He also showed us some concept art of what the marketing team was thinking about choosing for the cover before they came up with this one right here,
I think the
which
cover is great that they decided
I
though.
love this cover.
Me
And I've
too.
said it before. The cover is what drew me to the book initially. And then when I read about it, I was like, oh yeah, this is right up my alley.
Yes,
Yes.
I love
Yes,
the cover
yes.
page too. Oh, so good.
Yes. It's so good.
Yeah.
And for anyone who's here in the chat that doesn't know what this book is about, it's basically about a guy named Jim Pike who is an assistant manager. He doesn't want to be an assistant manager. He started working out at this hotel as a bellhop and liked that very much because he doesn't like responsibility.
Not
And
anymore.
he ends up becoming an assistant manager because the GM, the general manager, thinks that he has these great managerial skills. It's just that he happens to be a big guy and can, like show some muscle. Anyhow, he is at his hotel working, and there's a Star Trek convention happening, and everything goes awry because not only do you have tons of people attending in their Star Trek outfits, a virus decides to attend the convention as well.
Yes.
And that virus turns the people into zombies. And so it's basically a story about survival in a very crazy environment. So I'm not going to say any more until we decide we're going to start talking about spoilers. But
I'm ready whenever you're ready. As long as we got the warning up, we can. Whenever you're ready to dive into the spoilers, I'm ready. I was just trying to find. There's a great Picard reference because like I said, I'm a TNG person. So like the first the prologue in the first page or two, already there's a Picard mention, and then like one of the guards is like, "At least you're bald like Picard," and then
no.
they're like, "I'd rather have no hair than Janeway hair." So they're like fighting about the different captain's hair, which I loved. But I was like, "Bitch, I love Picard. Like Picard's the best." But I loved how he was referenced right away. I was like, "Picard's my guy. That's my number one captain."
Tootie wants to join the discussion. Come on, Tootie.
Tootie!
Nobody can see Tootie. At least I didn't let the door just open on its own so y'all think I have a ghost in my home. Rally says, by the way, Rise of the Evil Dead was so crazy, gory, and crazy. That cover's so amazing. I could not buy the book, but I might later.
Yeah, it's
That's
so
okay.
good.
The physical book, that is. Yes,
I'm
and
not.
don't diss Captain Janeway.
I do think that Jim's sister called Picard hot at one point in the book. Didn't she say that?
I
I
think
could have sworn
so.
he was like, "Why'd you get into this anyway?" She's like, "I think Picard was hot," like or something.
Okay,
I could have
so
sworn she said that. That made me laugh so hard. I was like, "Yes, some Picard respect."
that is hilarious. I do have a meme with him holding up a sign that says Zombie Awareness Month.
Oh, I've got so many freaking gifs of Picard being like slow clapping or being like I don't know. I got lots of Picard gifs, but I'll have to look at your meme.
Yeah, I think it's great. It was for something else, some kind of humanitarian thing, and somebody put the Zombie Awareness Month in it, and
That's
I think
great.
that's great.
It is great.
Okay, so I'm going to officially put the spoiler sign in, guys. So anybody here who has not read Night of the Living Trekkies, you are warned at this point that there could be some spoilers in here. So I just want to say that what I loved the most about this book, I mean, there's a lot of things to love, zombies, Comic-Con. I love the character of Jim.
Jim was great.
I loved him. He was so, like, he had flaws. He, went to Afghanistan and fought for his country and, came back with trauma from that. And because of the weight of the responsibility that he had over there and things not working out, and he had to live with that for the rest of his life, made him not want to have any responsibility once he came back to the States. So he ended up working, this job where he feels like I don't have to put much effort into it. I get my paycheck, I go home, I do whatever. The great thing too was at one time he had a passion for Star Trek and all that nerdy stuff, but then he lost that passion because of, his time in Afghanistan. So the fact that he ends up working at a hotel that becomes the convention hubbub for Star Trek is amazing to me. It's like of all the hotels in the world, he works at the one,
Yeah.
you know?
And it works out, and we can say this because again, will be a spoiler, but I love when he's trying to rally everybody to like try to escape the hotel later in the novel, and he puts on, the Captain Kirk uniform, and he's like, okay, I'm gonna embrace like the Trek mentality. So many great like quotes from the show that they're saying in the book. I love that, and I loved how they used the philosophy of the show too to kind
Yes.
of work towards like a greater goal, and like that was kind of helping them survive. And I like how it also was kind of like a wink, wink, nod, nod, because, oh, we could say this is like a Star Trek episode, but we can't really 100% say that. So it's like references within references. It just felt very meta at the same time. It was just. It was marvelous. I really loved it, and I loved how there were some Star Wars references too.
Yes.
So like all the Star Wars fans or fanatics who like it better than Star Trek, they're not left out either. I like how you have a mini romance, which I didn't mind, between Leia, who we learned her real name later, but between, as we know her for most of the novel, Leia and Jim. And usually I hate that, but like I was there for it, and I liked how it felt. And you and I talked about this in our book club. I like how it felt natural. It wasn't over the top. They spent time together. She was a little annoyed with him at first. Then they were working together a lot, and there was just this natural chemistry between them. And then at the end, it was definitely something more, but like, it just stayed very innocent in the book and very
Yeah.
natural seeming.
Yes. Because we talked about that in book club today. I was like, I was getting a little worried, when their romance started blossoming. I'm like, if they end up with a sex scene in this book in the middle of a zombie apocalypse, that's it. It will not get a 5-star from me because that is just not realistic.
I respect people who like smut, but I just couldn't fathom them stopping when they're
No.
trying to run like an atomic bomb or like some kind of bomb that they were gonna, destroy
Right.
Houston. Why would they stop and be like, okay, yeah, like let's do it
Let's
now?
get it on. Let's
Yeah,
get it
like
on
you
in the
have
middle of
to
a
wait
zombie
till you're safe.
apocalypse.
Yeah, like, you gotta wait till this settles down. Not to mention, he already suspected she was all infected, and if they would have had like sex at that point, he could have obviously been infected. So I'm glad they didn't go that route and they kept it very like innocent and just natural, like the natural course things would take,
Yes.
especially in like such a terrible situation where other things were going on besides their chemistry. There was still danger that they had to outrun, and that was, of course, still their first priority. And Jim still wanted to protect not only her, Leia, but like
Mhm.
his sister. I
Right.
loved his protective nature of his sister. I thought Matt was a great villain. He was a very
Mhm.
effective villain, and I like how he wasn't your typical zombie villain. He was like
Right.
an elevated, smart, and the whole take on zombies with the third eye, it was just very unique. I liked that it wasn't your same old zombie and your same old zombie story.
Exactly, exactly. I loved how Leia teased him to get them through, to kind of motivate him. Like, I'll tell you my real name when we get through this. And then we find out her name is Shelley. And then I also like the fact that Jim really was going to give up, but it wasn't until like the determination with his sister. It's amazing to me that him being a man, him being a soldier, it took two strong women to get him to realize you can't give up. You got to keep fighting. There's always hope. And the fact that basically Star Trek actually saves them. And I think that's
Yeah,
amazing in itself is because they there's so much hope in that show, that you
yeah.
just keep going until you can't go anymore. So that was really wonderful. I have to say I really felt that this book was well written.
Yes.
And I know that sometimes people think, books that are written or published through Quirk might not be the case, but I can attest to the fact that I have read Pride and Prejudice and Zombies, as well as the prequel and the sequel. And both of them, all three of them are well written.
Well,
And just
and I
because
think
it's,
Grady Hendrix published his books with Quirk at first
Mhm.
before like he moved on to like a bigger publisher, I believe, if I'm correct.
Yeah, I think he did. And the thing about it is, I think when you have that type of book where it's comedy horror or it's dealing with, zombies or, monsters or just whatever, maybe other publishers don't want to take the risk, with it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I just like you do have a great story about how the author got this published and how it's actually his first published novel. And I
Yeah.
just think it's such a great debut novel. It really is. But he did have some help. But I liked his whole process of how this came to be.
Mhm.
Kat, you should tell the story because it's really
Well, should
awesome.
I go ahead and tell them and go through the questions? Because I also had asked, and we didn't have time to go over this in book club, but I asked more writing related questions because I love learning about the process writers go through to get their art out there.
Yeah.
And the first question I asked him was, what was your inspiration for writing Night of the Living Trekkies? Like, where do you come up with an idea like this? Because I think it is so unique and I have not seen this anywhere else. And this is how he responded. He said, as a fan, I've always loved the zombie genre, but as a writer, I was a little annoyed at how other zombie content creators never really added anything to the genre other than rehashing what Romero had created accidentally, by the way. He intended to make and did make a movie about ghouls. Cool story, look it up. I told myself if I ever did something in the zombie genre, it had to be unique and it had to add to the genre, which I think he did.
I
So
definitely think you
my
did.
so my inspirations were content that was adding to the genre, like Return of the Living Dead, the first Zomcom, and the movie that added the whole zombie liking brains thing. Romero's zombies didn't do that. In fact, Romero hated the whole brains thing. Brian Keene's The Rising blew my mind, showing zombies in a whole new light. The next year, Shaun of the Dead came out, reminding me that comedy is king. I was inspired to write, but I still didn't have my unique twist. Then I finally got around to seeing the documentary Trekkies, and there it was. If you haven't seen it, it's a documentary about Star Trek fans and how they incorporate Trek into their real lives. Have you
Yeah,
seen
I've
that,
actually
Kelsey?
seen it. Yeah, and it is amazing. Yes.
Well,
There's
that's what he
also
says.
like
He says,
Captain, it's a good documentary, but no, Trekkies is more about the fans. There's also one about like Ghostbusters fans, which I think is great too. But yeah, the Trekkies doc is great.
Well, he says it's funny, astounding, and awesome. I thought in the right situation, under the most apocalyptic of circumstances, these fans could be the heroes. I found that I found what I'd been looking for, and I felt so stupid because I had been a Trekkie since I was 9 years old. Sometimes the thing you were looking for has been with you the whole time. So I love the fact that his
Yeah.
inspiration came from what he loved, Star Trek and zombies, but it was in front of him the whole entire time. But until it, got in his face, Oprah Winfrey always says, things start off as a pebble, and then they'll send you a rock, and then you'll get the boulder. So I guess he needed the boulder with the Trekkies documentary to end up, getting his inspiration. But as far as I asked him also, what was your writing process like since you were writing with another author? Did y'all split chapters? Did one of you handle setting and creating characters and the other work on dialogue? And he said, no, it wasn't like that or that organized. In 2008 and 2009, I wrote and finished the original 300 plus page draft of the novel, Night of the Living Trekkies. Sam was not yet involved. Even as I wrote, I was asking myself, who in the world is going to publish this thing? Then I was listening to NPR's Wait, Wait, Don't Tell Me, and they had a question about a New York Times bestseller, Pride, Prejudice, and Zombies. The book sounded crazy, but I wrote down the publisher because they sounded crazy enough to look at Night of the Living Trekkies. I sent them the manuscript, and the editor for the Pride and Prejudice and Zombies called me 4 days later. He said he loved it, but wanted some rewrites, and he tapped Sam Stahl to work on it with me. Sam had published several funny nonfiction books with them and was a huge Trekkie. And over the next 6 months, we combined many characters, dropped some real life characterization like George
Takai, yeah.
Takai, and cut about 100 pages. The result was a much tighter, fast-paced novel with better developed characters and plot. If you liked Jim Pike's faults, that was all Sam. My version of him was more Captain Kirk-like, super confident. If you liked the whole secret convention inside a convention, that was Sam's idea as well. A lot was cut from my original version, but in the end, I got my first novel published with a big publisher. I worked with talented people in the industry, and I came out a much better and wiser writer. So Kelsi and I were talking about this earlier. I love the book even more knowing that's what he went through, and the fact that this is his first published novel, and it's something that he's truly passionate about. So I
Yeah.
just love learning about all of that.
And so I had heard you read that answer in our book club chat, but I hadn't heard you read the other one about writing and like the process and how he wanted to add something different. I think he totally accomplished that, and that is probably one of the reasons why, like, I always tell you, like, I'm not a huge zombie fan, but I do enjoy, dipping my toe into the zombie waters when we do have this May every year, this big celebration for Zombie Awareness Month together. And I will say, I kind of feel that criticism sometimes that not everybody does something new with it. But that's one of the things I liked the most about this book is that the third eye. I was like, that's unique as hell. What the
Mhm.
hell? Like, I loved how like he showed like these tendrils like connecting or trying to connect the missing limbs to still make the body work. I like how they were discussing how they didn't really care about eating the brains as much as like reproducing, like replicating the virus in other hosts. I freaking love that. And I loved how they were all connected, like almost like with this like sixth sense or seventh sense or whatever you want to call it, that they like basically were all connected together as zombies, like this big zombie horde that could read each other's thoughts basically. It was so cool. I just thought
Well,
it was so
that's what I
awesome.
love too, is because, a couple of chats ago, I had talked about the 10 different ways that I've seen in literature, or I found that, a person becomes a zombie. And having a parasite, a vector, take you over, and basically turn you into a zombie to accomplish whatever their goal is exactly. And they use the word vector in it. I was so excited about that because that was one of the 10 ways that you could do it. And it almost reminded me of when they were crawling over each other, to get up to somebody, when they were in the elevator scene, for example, how they were climbing on top and they were worried that they were going to get on top of the elevator and then they weren't going to be able to survive because then they'd be able to get into the elevator. That's that vector parasite working, to reach their goal or whatever the case may be. So I just love seeing that. I was like, woo.
And I loved how even though that was like one of the ways you can become a zombie, it was still unique for that type of way with the third eye. Like I've never seen anything like that.
No.
And then the thinking for themselves and also kind of the parasite like influencing their thought process before they even fully turn. Like I love how you had some time with the person after they were bit, extended time to where they were trying to fight like the influence of this like other freaking thing in their body invading their body. That was so unique. I loved it. I just
Mhm.
was like, this is way exceeding my expectations, just because I thought it was going to be like, just normal zombies at a Star Trek convention. I didn't know we would have such fleshed out characters either. And also, one of my favorite parts is how they go downstairs and they're trying to get into the car and they have to battle all the Borg zombies. I was like, yes, that's my favorite Star Trek villains. So I was like, yes, the Borg are represented.
Well, and there were so many twists and turns, and I knew we were going to see Matt at some point because, he ran off and I knew he was going to come out. I didn't expect him to come at that point. I didn't expect, let's put it this way. I expected that not everybody was going to make it out of the parking garage, but it was so sad to me. I didn't cry, but I was so sad about not everybody making it because by that point, because of everything they had been through, them working together, the fact that they were like all hopeful that they were going to get out and they were going to beat the timer for that bomb to go off. And then they didn't make it. And it's like, oh, that's so sad.
You remember how we were talking about poor Willie? I loved the
Yeah.
red shirt reference, and like even though I'm not as big of a original Star Trek fan, I have seen all the original movies, and of course I know about the red shirts and how they're basically doomed. I like how they made that a little joke. It was a joke at first, like even to the people who were wearing the red shirts, but then it became real when they had like these terrible deaths that were not zombie related, which I also thought was unique that was in there. Like the poor guy, like they didn't even know the zombie thing was happening in the hotel. They were just dying by random freaking other ways, and they're like, "It's a curse. We're cursed."
I know. And then you thought for sure that Willie was going to fight it and win and make it. And then he doesn't. And it's like, why didn't you just get into the RV?
I kind of imagine Willie going out like a hero, though. Like he was a hero, but like
He was.
I almost imagine him like driving like on purpose, like I'm gonna get him, whoa! Like and then like sacrificing himself. I just imagined Willie, like I don't know, like I imagined like he made peace with it at the end, and he knew it was for the greater good. But I was sad about Willie.
I was sad. Let's see what people are saying in here. We have Crystal. Yes, I love Jim a lot. He was definitely battling some demons, but was able to step up to the plate when needed to. Raleigh says, living in the day and time we do right now, we know how easy it is to pick up a virus. So although funny parts, it's also scary. Yes, yeah. It is very scary. And it's also scary too, that you've got people that, like if it is manufactured somewhere and what the consequences are if it gets out or somebody has a nefarious plan like the doctor, obviously.
I loved that twist too. That was a great twist at the end. That was so good. And
I did not see it coming. I
didn't see it coming either. But I also like how, like, the parasite itself, it comes from space, like a meteor.
Yes.
And they studied it, and that's what kind of unleashed it. And then they were trying to keep it at bay and understand it. Then they couldn't. And then the doctor, like that whole twist, how he's like, oh, no biggie. And then he's like the bad guy. It's awesome.
Well, and I also love the fact that Matt ended up with a tentacle hand. I was just like, that just seems like something so, out of space. So it fits. It fits that there was an alien entity involved.
It made it like more Star Trek-y. So I liked that. It was definitely like a flair.
Yes. Jasmine said Jim's rallying of the troops moment was the best. I got so hyped when he put the costume on. Yes, we talked about that in
I
book
also
club.
liked because in that scene he has to convince Mortok to like actually like go down with them and not give up and just like cry in the room. I loved him. I was so sad. He was a favorite character of mine. I
He was
loved
a
him.
favorite too. I loved him, and I felt so bad for him because he had to kill his friend, and
And he was
he didn't
crying
want
about it.
to.
And so sad. He felt so bad.
Riley says, I love working in tourist areas and local stuff, so I like that. Also, Star Trek captains better be able to lead in the situation.
Yes.
LOL. I love the pacing of this book. It was written well and really established, kept a good momentum. It did. And I have to say, I haven't read a book that fast in a while. I mean, the fact that I started it Saturday morning on sprints and then ended up reading a little bit in the morning on Sunday and then reading a little bit, finish it in the evening. It was like I just wanted to read. I just wanted to know what was going to happen. So that was very refreshing to have a book like that.
Yeah, and it never
Um,
felt like a chore. Like I only read it in 2 sittings. I read the first 23 or so pages Sunday night and the rest of it yesterday and last night, and it
mhm.
never felt like a chore to pick it up. It never felt like it dragged at any point. The momentum was on point the whole
Yeah.
time, and it really did start pretty fast
Yeah,
for the
I think
most
so. And
part.
that's what I was going to say. I love the dramatic irony that we were all picking up on everything, before Jim did. And then, of course, Jim does. And everybody else is like looking at him like he's crazy. Like, what are you talking about? Kind of thing. And then Gary actually apologizes, and Teapot or whatever apologized because they were like, you said it was zombies and we didn't believe you. Raleigh says it can be considered fan fiction, but I love that some very popular love books came from just that. I love that it had realism and comedy and something like some love in it. Yes, I
Yeah.
did too. I did love that. And I loved that Jim was able, not saying that Jim's going to be perfect, but that Jim now has something to hope for and that, there's more to his life. He still has a lot of life to live and he has somebody to share that with, and he and his sister are going to be together,
I
so
think,
that's,
it might have helped him come to grips with how he felt like he failed people. Like in
yeah.
this instance, he didn't. So he doesn't always have to just go back. I'm sure he'll still remember that terrible time, but as a character, he's got this bright spot to remember that he did lead. He did help
Mhm.
take his friends and his family, because his sister, through the terrible chaos of that zombie outbreak and help them, make it to the other side of it and see, the next day.
Exactly. Amy says, love that. And I definitely agree. He 100% met his goal of adding to the genre. I
Yeah,
agree.
I really think it was just so unique in so many ways, and like I said, I usually kinda I criticize zombie things because to me, sometimes they can be very similar to each other. This one was definitely not. Like, it did something different, and I appreciated that very
Yeah.
much.
Yeah, I agree. So he said, oops, I meant fan stuff some people really love.
Yes, I totally got what you meant.
Oh, yay. I'm glad you asked that question. I wanted to know who did what. Yeah, I did too. I just love that. Hey, Linda, welcome. Glad you're here with us tonight. Oh, okay. That's cool. I always find that interesting how books are put together when multiple authors are listed. Sounds like Sam added a lot to it. Yeah. I was very excited to learn about that because I like to know when you have two authors working together, because sometimes the authors are friends, like the two ladies that I follow for Happier in Hollywood. They're
Mhm.
Hollywood TV writers. They've been friends since high school and ended up, go writing and going to college and stuff. And then they came back to LA together. And then they have been in a writing partnership for like 18 or 19 years, which I think is fantastic. And then I follow Douglas Preston and Lincoln Child. They write books alone, but then they write a whole series about Agent Pendergast, which I absolutely adore. And just like their writing process of how they email one another, how they get together with it, it's fascinating to me, that relationship. Very creative elements not used in other books when I wondered it would be all done before being Star Trek. I agree. And look who has
Oh!
joined us. Woo! Hello, Mr. Kevin David Anderson.
Hello! We loved your
Mentor.
book. So many people gave it 4 and 5 stars.
Yes, you are the hit for Zombiethon.
Yes. It was a great pick for a book club, Kat. I really do think this was a great, great pick.
Yeah, I'm excited. I really am excited because you never it's first of all, it's my first group read that I chose. And the fact that I chose it based on the cover, as well as the fact that it had a great synopsis, just made me super excited to read it. It's just original. It's unique. I love it.
You know,
Um,
sometimes the cover is better than the inside of the book, but in this case, the inside was really great. I mean, if you look at paperbacks from hell or like vintage 80s, 90s that are, talked about in the nonfiction book paperbacks from hell, those covers, some of them are amazing. The stories suck sometimes, are terrible, slow, etc. This was not that case. This cover, freaking, it delivered. The book itself
yes,
delivered.
yes. It was the whole thing, the whole package. The
Yes.
tentacle head threw me so off. Yes, it did, but I thought it was great. I loved it. I loved having that alien aspect in it.
And that the
Um,
microwave, like the waves, are what helped create it. I was like, oh, it's so like unique.
so fun. It was like Jim's redemption of surviving and working through a war trauma. I think so. I
Yes.
loved it. Oh, so much fun, Mr. Anderson. You getting some love in the comments.
Yay.
Yay. Woohoo.
Oh my
Agreed.
god.
Awesome group read.
You know what I forgot to do?
What?
I should have changed out one of my posters to be like my Star Trek poster. Like,
You
and
should
I
have.
just had it up, like in that corner. You would have been able. It was Picard, like freaking a week ago, and I changed it. I didn't even think.
That is
Also, well, I
hilarious.
do have it on the other side of my room, but you can't see it in frame. I should have at least wore my Picard necklace, even though it was more original series. But I didn't have any representation. Sad. I failed as a Trek fan.
That's okay. That's okay. But I do have two other questions that I did ask. My third question to him was, I really like the character of Jim, flaws and all. Is he based on anyone you know or a combination of people you know? And his answer was, not anybody real. Jim Pike, in my mind, was a combo of two Enterprise captains, Jim Kirk and Christopher Pike. As I mentioned earlier, he was very confident, very Shatner-like, and when Sam got involved, he wanted the character to be much more vulnerable and brought in his service in Afghanistan. This really helped humanize the character and gave us the character arc we needed. And I think that is so true, because I really do think, I think if he would have been like this, like macho, I'm so great, God's gift to women, and I'm, it wouldn't have been as believable to me, kind of thing. I liked that he lacked motivation in the beginning,
Yeah.
and that really the only reason, he could get people to do what he wanted is because he had muscles and looked intimidating. It's kind of hilarious to me. But the one thing about Jim from the beginning to the end is he always had heart, always.
Yeah.
And that's what I really liked about him. He is my favorite, but I have to say, at first I did not like Gary. And I did mention this in Discord in that book club or whatever, but he reminded me of that Josh Gad character in Little Monsters, who I absolutely despise. And even with watching Little Monsters for the second time, I knew he was coming in there, but he's so foul-mouthed and crude that I'm just like, push him off the roof and let him get eaten by zombies
I
already.
love that
Because I
movie.
just can't stand him. I hate him. So at first I thought Gary was going to be like that. And I'm like, oh, please, no. He's got to be the one that they push out of the hotel room so that they can get away. And then he surprised me. And then I didn't want him to die at the end.
I know, I really liked him a lot. Like, he definitely grew on you, and I like how he kind of formed, like, a friendship with, like, or at least, like, a back and forth with Jim right away. Like, Jim didn't like Matt from the get-go, right when
Right.
he saw him, but he kind of, like, took Gary aside and was like, hey, and they were talking back and forth, and they had kind of, like, a friend chemistry, in my mind, in my opinion, right away.
Well, and also, too, you had mentioned how Gary's respect and admiration for Leia / Shelley.
It was kind of cute. Like, it wasn't creepy. Like, our friend Steph in book club was saying how she loved that there was two badass women characters,
Yeah.
and they were sci-fi fans, and they were not like worried about it, and how they were both very different from each other. Like
Mhm.
Leia, she like was owning her sexuality, being like, I can make money for medical school by doing these. Why not? Like, let me dress up like Princess Leia and freaking, I don't care. Like, why not? I liked that she owned it. And then I liked how, on the other hand, Jim's sister was embracing like her nerdum and just was like, I like being like a Star Trek nerd, like Picard is hot. I think she said that. I almost swear.
Well,
I
I
gotta
also
find
like the fact
book.
that she wasn't going to give up on being her character until
Yes.
the convention was over with. But the other thing, how many of y'all thought that when Jim busted into that room, like I thought that Leia got eaten and that all anybody was going to see was the arm stuck in the handcuffs. Just in there. So the fact that she was alive, like I was like worried about what is she going to look like? She can't possibly be alive, still handcuffed to that bed. So I thought that was a great reveal, I
Yeah,
guess.
yeah.
Vanessa saying, Mr. Anderson, your book is my first 5-star of the year. And that's saying a lot because we are in the 5th month. So
And we're like
that
huge
is
readers. Like everyone
awesome.
here reads like a ton.
Yes, we read lots of books. So yeah, that's very good. I'm glad you said that, Vanessa. 2 people asked me what I was reading. When I told them about it, their mouth dropped. They were so interested. So I'm hoping they go get the book too. Oh yeah, I will be basically advertising this book. And I get no kickbacks from it for sure, but I will definitely be telling people you need to read this book because if you like zombies, you like Comic-Con, you like Star Trek, you'll love it. But you don't have to love Star Trek in
That's
order
one
to
of the
love it.
best parts about it is that you don't have to be like uber familiar with Star Trek to like it. I loved that. Also, I was on Sprints last night on Kaylee's channel, Kaylee's Books, and they were asking what I was reading, and I said Night of the Living Trekkies, and I was like, it's surprising me so much. Like, I'm loving it so much more than I thought I would. And then I was like, I'm a TNG fan, and people were like, that's not the best Star Wars. I'm like, yes, it is. And then we were getting like in like battles in the comments. I was like, Picard's the best captain, and they're like, no. They're like, Deep Space Nine is the best like series, and I was like, no. So if anyone here is a Star Trek fan, I'm just curious what your favorite is. Like, which iteration do you like, and which captain do you like the best? Of course, I already said TNG, Picard for life. So that's just me. But I want to know what everyone else thinks, and I will not fight you in the comments. But it was funny at Sprints. We had this big conversation because of this book. So
Also, Mr. Anderson says, look hard at the cover. We could not use the Federation logo, had to use a rocket the same shape as the insignia.
yeah,
So,
I see that. I do see that.
uh-huh.
It's like a little rocket. Yeah. Hold on. Let me get
Can
it
y'all see
close.
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's definitely more of a shape of a rocket, which I think that's so interesting that you can't like officially use it, which makes sense because of,
Oh yeah.
copyright.
Well, they don't want anybody making money off of their, idea. Those who know the insignia will get it. Yep, they sure will. Runs and subs, Mr. Anderson.
Oh, that would have been funny,
That
yeah.
would be funny, just an arm and a handcuff.
But I'm
Yes,
glad
that's
it wasn't though.
I know. I wouldn't have liked that either. It would have been up there with them having their like a sexual moment somewhere. I would have been like, no, no.
Yeah.
I am not a Trekkie, but at all. But it was part of my childhood, and I enjoyed the book. It was fun. Vanessa says my boyfriend doesn't like reading, but listened to the audiobook and loved it. Yeah, a lot of props to the narrator of the audiobook because anyone who listened to the audiobook, I heard all positive comments about that. So that's pretty awesome. I could not fight on captains because I always love Spock, hence loving the cover. I am only familiar with the new generation. Is that right? My dad was a huge fan when I was a kid and was always watching it. I don't watch it myself though.
That's funny because my dad and I, like, that's how I got into The Next Generation, is because we would always watch like reruns together, like on TV all the time. And then I like tried to like find it. Like, I had to rent the DVDs from Netflix back when they used to do that. So that's how I watched Star Trek The Next Generation in its entirety for the first time, was renting the DVDs from Netflix. Then they put it on there and I watched it, but I was like waiting. Like, I went to the theater releases where they did the like really intensive special edition Blu-ray restorations, which was so labor intensive. They had to like reconstruct special effects
Oh,
from
wow.
like scratch. They had to like put together like the footage from like the actual like vaults and like reconstruct certain things. So it like is very expensive. So I bought like the really expensive Blu-ray and I like freaked out the day it came out on sale. So like I really like Next Gen, like a lot.
Crystal says, I grew up watching The Next Generation too and loved the series, but I did watch a lot of the original series because of my mom, and I did enjoy Voyager. Love Janeway. Mr. Anderson says, I'm a Captain Kirk fan. My wife is a Picard fan, so mixed marriages can work. He was so good, made the book become undead. Yes. I also picked up your short book. What else do you have available, Mr. Anderson? This is Swamp Gas who's asking this question. I'm glad you did ask that question because one of our book club members, Steph, she asked me to ask Mr. Anderson 2 questions. And one of them was, since I enjoyed Trekkies, what should I read next? And he gave a bunch of other books and podcasts. And he also has a YouTube channel, which I will link in the description if I have not already done that. And of
Yeah, I'll have
course,
to
he's
go
in our
stalk.
Discord as well. But I'm going to try to put this information in Discord, like under its own channel with recommendations so that you can check out his other work, because I personally plan to check out his other stuff as well. I know he has a sense of humor just based on some of these, you know, his information that he's given me. Apparently, he also writes nerdy dad jokes
Which
under a
I freaking
pseudonym,
love dad
which
jokes.
is
That's so
called
awesome.
Giggles a Lot and Knee Slapper. And the way it's spelled is hilarious. He says, it's a project I started with my son, and it turned into a 4-book series with more in the way. By far the most popular and is Star Wars The Jokes Awaken, a joke book from a galaxy far, far away, perfect for fans of all ages. And I think that's great. That is hilarious.
Yeah, I gotta check those out. I love a good dad joke.
So
Always.
I will, Swamp Gas, put information in the Discord, because the Discord is going to be open all year long and anybody can go back and look, because believe me, there's a lot of book titles in there I need to get. Raleigh says, my ex is a huge Star Trek fan, watched everything. I'm going to buy him the book to give him in July for Christmas in July. Excited to do
Oh,
that.
that's
Yeah, I
sweet.
think that's awesome. I have to say, I grew up a Star Wars fan as my dad did. I admit I am more Star Wars than I
I
am
like
Star
both
Trek.
a lot
It's not
growing
that
up.
I don't like Star Trek. I don't know. We just didn't really watch it. I mean, I've watched the more current with Chris Pine as Captain Kirk, and I like those. I know that's not the traditional one, but I mean, both William Shatner and Chris Pine are like nice to look at. So I'm a team Leia. Yes,
But I love how Star Wars was represented in the book too, and she kept quoting freaking Star Wars to him, and then he's like, "That was a Star Wars quote." Oh, never mind. Like in like the middle of all this action and chaos, I just loved it. That was
right. And I love that. That's like a mixed marriage if you have the Star Trek and the Star Wars getting together. Oh,
yes.
you're welcome, Rally. I'm so glad you enjoyed it. I'm also a big Star Wars fan, so I love the crossover bits in the book.
Me
Yeah,
too.
I think it
Yeah,
just
I love
added
Star
to
Wars
it.
too. I grew up like freaking loving that as well, also because of my dad. So
Yeah.
he's a fan of both too.
Yeah, Raleigh says the same thing. Loves the Star Wars stuff. I also asked Mr. Anderson because I think this would make an awesome movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, I am a fan of Shaun of the Dead. It is probably my favorite zombie movie. I mean, I have lots of favorite zombie movies, but I just love Shaun of the Dead. I mean, it's up there. It makes me laugh. I watch it every year, and it never gets old. So I think it has similar humor. So I think that this would make a terrific movie. So I asked about that. And my question was, I know there is a trailer for the book, but has there been any interest in making this story into a full-length movie or miniseries? Personally, I think it would make a terrific movie. And his response was, there have been about a half dozen attempts to move the book to the big screen. One involved Zachary Quintos. Is that how you say his name? Quintos?
Yeah, I think
Quintos.
so.
He's the J.J. Abrams Spock production company. And another attempt was spearheaded by a former executive at Paramount. The most recent attempt was about 3 years ago, wanted to create a real convention just to film the movie. Anyway, I try not to pay attention to that anymore. It's always disappointing when it falls through because I agree with you, it'd make a terrific movie. So I didn't mean to open a wound there by asking that question, but I do think it would make a fantastic zombie movie, and it's doable. And if you haven't seen the trailer, check it out. It's in our Discord.
Yeah, I have to go and watch the book trailer because I haven't seen it yet. I was like avoiding the Discord because I was like, I'm gonna wait. I don't want any preconceived like notions or thoughts in my head before I started it. Even though you were talking about it on your sprints the other day, I like kept muting it. I was like, I don't want to hear anything. Like, so I went in kind of blind, and I'm glad I did because it made me like it even more, I think. But I will say about the movie comment, it does suck because this happens all the time with books, apparently. When I went to, and I'm sorry, I'm repeating this, Kat, since I told this at book club already. So I'm sorry, Vanessa and Kat. But when I went to Robert McCammon's book signing last year, he was talking about how like he can't talk about the film projects half the time. Like, and then the other half of the time, all this stuff is in the works, they're optioned, and then it's just dropped, like, for a whole bunch of different reasons. Like, oh, the director dropped out. Oh, the funding's not there anymore. Oh, look, they've got this, and that's happening. And then all of a sudden, it, like, seems like it's going to happen, and then it doesn't happen. Or somebody options it, and then they just let it drop. Like, and then nothing's made. So it's a whole big thing. It seems like this is a problem that happens a lot, which sucks because it seems like there's a lot of badass movies that could be made that it just, the process.
Well, it cracks me up too because you have something that is original that can be made into a movie, something fresh, and yet they will go and make a remake of something else that is already good all on its own. And it's like, why spend the money on recreating something that's already good enough when you could create something that's fresh and new? I mean, I don't understand that. That's probably my one gripe with Hollywood for sure. Crystal said, yeah, we already said that one. Sorry, Crystal. Amy said, you mean Hard Rock Zombie isn't your favorite, Cat? No.
It is my favorite bad zombie movie.
Let's put it this way. Good. Kelsi, I need to actually go back and probably re-rate some of our movies we thought were so terrible in the very beginning, like Saint, for example. Saint was better than Hard Rock Zombie.
Are you sure? Like, this is a classic bad movie. It was so good. It was so good to laugh at. What other movie has a random werewolf grandma? Like, literally, we don't even see zombies. There's like a werewolf grandma, creepy peepers and creepers who are filming from like the woods, like this couple, and like, we don't even get any of that explained. Like, there's this mysterious magic happening. Nothing's explained. Then 50 minutes later,
explained. It's because this movie was like 5 movies in one. Literally, it starts off as a slasher. Then it's a werewolf movie. Then it takes 50 minutes to get to that. It's a zombie movie. Then it gets to then it gets to like what is that? What would we call that?
Like a music video, like the ladies dancing in the screen.
Yes,
for like
a music video with this weird lady dancing. It had a wizard in it. It was so random.
There's a spoiler. We can't say like who the villain is, but
and the zombies wanted to be Kiss. I'm like,
it was great. It was so good. If you love cheesy bad movies, it's like freaking top tier. We're talking Troll 2 level, but maybe even better because there was more times I laughed and literally everyone was saying what at the same time in the group chat. Everyone was like, what? Yes, it's a great bad movie.
Kelsi, you know how like Michael Scott gives the Dundies and they're always like really odd awards? Like, you need to have like the corns.
The corns.
Like, instead of the Oscars, you have the corns or the corn cobs or something. It could be a corn cob. It could be an actual corn on the cob. And I think they should have bites taken out of it.
And it's for the corniest movies. Yes. Yeah, I will die with this stance. I thought it was great for like a fun, good time.
So Vanessa says, love the Dawn of the Dead and 28 Days Later, which were mentioned in the book. Yes. What is the trailer under on Discord?
Like, is it in the
it's under Night of the Living Trekkies.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, that information's under Night of the Living Trekkies because Mr. Anderson put it in there. They need a fan rally to get them to do it. Yeah.
To make the movie, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
well,
yes.
If we had a director that would be willing to do a Kickstarter, I think that would be awesome. Yes, I didn't forget the wizard, Vanessa. Vanessa, I think, really liked the wizard because she mentioned it more than once tonight. And then Andrew, of course, with the lady dancing for 10 minutes. But then the lady also danced in and out periodically. You would have flashes of her.
She was literally everywhere. Like, what is with this lady?
Well, that was the other thing, too. There were parts in it that were like so unnecessary. It was almost like they were shooting a MTV video, like a music video for MTV in spots. And that song, the one song,
that song was pretty gross. Like talking about how the girl's too young.
And Rally's making a good point. Did they have tentacle arms? No, they did not.
No, but they did look like Kiss. So
he was like, I love how intensely you hate it. Well, Amy, I'm just going to tell you, you should go back and see some of our conversations.
You really should, because Kat like argues and her hatred comes up like so hardcore.
Oh,
like,
yes. There are some movies that
she bashed Christmas Evil so hard and it makes me cry.
And then Kelsi held me to it when I said that I would watch it again.
That's how it turned into a thing.
And I did have to admit that I ended up liking it.
And I took like zombies. 10 pages of notes.
Ooh, yeah, kissing zombies, gross. Daggum missed a fun viewing.
Yeah, it was fun. Perfect, yes.
It was perfect for a group watch. I will agree 100% to that, Andrew, for sure. It was ridiculous. I have to say, I was on pain meds when I was reading the group book, and it made it even better. Awesome.
I hope you're feeling better, by the way, from your surgery and everything.
Some say that lady is still dancing to this day.
I would believe it because she danced a lot in that movie. Like, come on.
It is so crazy.
Oh, yeah, Amy's on the same page.
Yeah, so unfortunately, I think it was me and Paul were the only people that were against Christmas Evil.
I mean, everyone else liked it. So what does it tell you? That my taste is good. Like,
well, actually, after watching it a second time, I did bump it up. I think maybe a half star. Maybe a whole star. I can't even really remember.
I will fight for that movie.
Kelsi loving Christmas Evil was when I knew I needed to become friends with her. Yeah.
We definitely have the same taste in movies.
Although I have to say there have been some movies that Kelsi and I did totally agree that were totally awful. But I would say that if this book was in the right hands, it would make an awesome movie like Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, not good bad. It would be good.
Yeah, it would be good. Because like I said, if you check out the trailer is so good. It's like, I wish I would have seen the book trailer before I had read it, just, for emphasis. Well, actually I did, because I hadn't even started the book at that point. That got me more excited about reading it. But yeah, so I also want to share something with you because I didn't pick up on this, and I guess it's because I haven't seen Scream in so long. I don't think you picked up on it either, Kelsi, or maybe you did, and it was Steph bringing it up that kind of made you realize, is that Steph asked another question for me to ask Mr. Anderson, and it was, who is your favorite character from the original Scream franchise, and why is it Randy? So the reason Steph thought that is because the character Gary is saying things to them, telling them things
like very
like,
meta things.
Know this,
like,
right?
Hey, remember this can't be a Star Trek episode because, or the difference between Trekkies and everything else. He was very like meta. It was great,
right? So anyway, that got Steph thinking that Mr. Anderson is a Scream fan. So this was his reply. He said, okay, yes, it's Randy. Here is why. He is a unique character that says what the horror audience knows and what the screenwriter is thinking. He calls out the genre's tropes and represents every one of us who has ever yelled at the screen things like, "Why the hell are you splitting up? Do you not go investigate that noise? Why are you still standing there? Get out of the house. Of course, the bad guy is not dead yet. Hit him again."
Those are
Yeah, the thing
great.
about the zombie apocalypse for me is I would kill a zombie the way I would kill a cockroach. I would mutilate it. I would cut its head off and then I would cut
Why?
and then I would stomp the head like a million times to make sure it is totally dead. Well, you do realize that cockroaches can live without their head for up to 10 days.
I
They just need
know.
a water source. They're so disgusting. And kind of like, zombies are like that. Zombies are kind of like cockroaches of the earth, okay? Except they want to feed on people. And they don't even really need to eat that flesh, really. I mean,
They're gonna keep on keeping on. I mean, no matter what, like a cockroach, I suppose. Yeah.
yes, they're going to keep on.
I
And
don't know.
then think about it. Cockroaches will always live. Nothing seems to be able to kill them. However, zombies are the same way. Once the apocalypse happens, I don't think they could ever die, especially if there's a virus like The Walking Dead.
I don't know. I know I'd be doomed if there was an apocalypse. I would just accept it and be like, no, this is my fate. I will sit here or something.
No, I am not. I am not letting something eat me. No. Yeah. La, la, la. Let's see. Jasmine says it could be great in the right hands and a good budget. I agree. Yeah, I'd love a movie version of the book. That would be a fun watch.
Yeah.
Crystal says, I think picking Star Trek for this story was perfect. Trek fans are passionate, but also generally pretty low key. And another fandom was chosen. If another fandom was chosen, I really don't think it would have worked as well. Good point.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I
The Scream.
million% see that.
Yeah, for the Scream reference. He's Randy. Yes.
He's Randy. Aside from a few little annoying bits, I really enjoyed Night of the Living Trekkies. Awesome. I'm so excited. And what the cat, what torches are you doing to cockroaches? I hate cockroaches. They are pretty much the only thing I'm afraid of. Like as far as in the insect world.
She couldn't read the nest. There's no way she'd read the
I
nest.
just despise them. When you live in Louisiana, you have to deal with them. And if you live in an area where there's a lot of trees, like oak trees and pine trees, like at nighttime, they're all in there. And you open your door and they see a light and they swoop in and then they chase you around your house. My husband says that's not true, that they cannot, that they get in your draft or whatever. I'm like, that is not true. They see you, they chase you, they want to touch you. It's disgusting.
They want to touch you with their feelers. I don't like them either, for the record, but I will read
And I am going to tell you one time there was a roach in my room. We have no carpet in our house. And there was one in my room and it woke me up. I heard it skittering, skittering on my floor. I could not rest until I obliterated it.
Obliterated. It's so
Yes.
hard.
Also, too, my husband, I have a rule now because Barry tricked me one time. When we lived in close to where you are, Kelsi, we lived in a little house near there, well, in River Ridge, and there was a roach in our kitchen. It like ran across the floor and then it ran under like the cabinet area. And so I screamed for Barry to come and save me. And I ran out the room and he went in and he told me it was dead.
And it wasn't?
So I went back in the kitchen and I'm doing my thing. And that thing came out and almost gave me a heart attack. And I told him from that point on, he had to produce a dead body because I was not going to trust it unless I could actually see the dead body.
Produce it. Yes.
You have to kill it and you have to show it to me.
Paul's too slow at going to get them. Like, he'll be like, go get me a paper towel. I'm like, you gotta be faster. You gotta be aggressive. He just lets them go under. And then we lose them, and then you can't rest.
You can't.
Knowing they're around.
You can't because they're going to be there forever. They never go away once they're there. Sorry, I'm a big Scream fan.
A lot of people are.
We like
It's
that.
understandable.
Zombie cockroaches, that would be awful. That would be
Oh my god,
horrible.
that's like my worst nightmare.
Yes, that's awful. Gotta double tap the roaches. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. Because they're horrific. I'm sorry, they're horrific. They're like they're snakes don't even scare me as much as a cockroach. I'm sorry. Spiders don't even scare me as much as a cockroach.
Yeah.
They're just ugly. They're ugly and they just look like they are sitting there waiting to jump on you. They know they can
They
scare
do
us.
kinda look at you weird.
They
They
do with
stare
their
at
little
you.
antennae going like that. I
Yeah.
think they're trying to signal other ones to come. And also, too, if you've ever seen the Stephen King movie, the show, the Creep Show one, where the guy is in that clean
Yes.
place with the roaches, that's so terrible.
I
Look more
know.
relates to the fact that the cockroaches are zombies. Oh man, only on our chat with all these awesome people
Yeah,
would we
doesn't
go
come up
from
with
a
Hard Rock
discussion
Zombie with
of
roaches.
Night of the Living Turkey to zombie roaches. So, ladies, did you both give the book a 5-star? Yes.
5,
Yes. Five
yeah.
star
I
for me.
really
Five
liked it.
star for me. I already wrote my Goodreads review and I'm going to post on Instagram. I wanted to do this first before I posted on Instagram where everybody could see it. But yeah, I'm really love it. And like I said, I'm going to, recommend it to everybody. Definitely, if we're doing Zombiethon next year, for sure, as long as I'm able to do it, that will be definitely on the recommendation list for
Oh, hell
sure.
yeah. Like, I'd be like, if you like comedy, like, books with heart and action and horror, like, this is, like, the perfect choice for, like, Zombiethon for a read if someone hasn't read it. It's perfect.
Yeah, so Riley wants to know what Andrew's his rating
Rating.
is. Riley's still deciding hers. Andrew says 3.5 to 4ish. Had a good time for sure.
It was years ago when he read it, I think he said. Right, Andrew? Wasn't that a couple of years ago? Because you had already read it before this month.
And then Amy said it was a really great group read pick. Thank
Yay!
you.
It
I'm so
was,
glad
Kat.
everybody loved it. First time doing Zombiethon with a big group like this. I mean, I always celebrating zombies, but first time doing it with a big group. I'm glad everybody had a great time with Zombiethon. We still have one more day. I still have stuff I need to read and watch before the end of tomorrow. And glad that my first group pick did wonderful, and glad that Mr. Anderson was a part
I
of our
know, how
Discord
special.
and gave us some really awesome information about his writing process, how this book came about, and also too that we can check out more of his work. So I'm super excited about that.
And
Um,
like Kat alluded to, he does have a YouTube channel, so we should all totally, if we enjoyed it, go and subscribe. I thought it was so cool that he popped in. So thank you so much,
yes,
Mr.
yes,
Anderson, and
I'm
thanks for
very
being in the Discord. So awesome.
Yeah, I'm very grateful. He's been very gracious, and I appreciate him so much for doing that for us. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it's
That's all I
nice to get a
can say.
peek behind the curtain, you know?
Yeah, yeah. So Riley was saying it
Yay.
was fitting for the Zombiethon. Thank you. I thought so. Good job, Kat from Swamp Gas. Thank you. Yeah, it was a couple of years ago. Also agreed it was the perfect choice for a group read. Yeah.
Yay. Yeah, it really
So
was.
yeah, I'm excited. I wanted something a little more lighthearted instead of something being, super, you know, deep or whatever
That's
that
another thing in book form, there's not a lot of lighter. I mean, there is for like middle grade and stuff, but there's not a lot of lighter zombie stuff. It's mostly really
right.
heavy, really dark, which is mostly how the tones of the movies are too. But you could find more, I think, zombie comedy in film versus in book
Yes,
form.
yes, I agree because we have seen quite a few zombie comedies. Another thing that I love too is that there are some middle grade series out there, but even like Dead City, there are points that it gets kind of heavy in certain terms as far as like relationships and how the zombies get there and the fact that the zombies want to kill these teenagers who are trying to keep peace in New York City kind of thing. And then also too the Enemy series is more YA, but that's very heavy. The fact that once you turn 16, that you can get the zombie virus, and it's kids basically having to survive on their own. And any adults that haven't gotten the virus are not good people. So it's pretty nice. I mean, and it's not to say that this doesn't have gore in it. I mean, the descriptions are awesome. As far, like I said, it has humor, it has heart, it has horror, and that made me happy. All the
Yes.
H's.
It really was such an enjoyable time, and I was pleasantly surprised.
And there's Mr. Anderson saying it's been a lot of fun. We do appreciate you being here and
We do.
popping in. Really, you have been so gracious to us. And I'm just glad that you participated in the Zombiethon with us on Discord, and hope that you'll hang around with us, for any other zombie events we do. In fact, I believe October might be National Zombie or International Zombie Day or something.
Oh,
And I
really?
am considering doing maybe a week of zombie, stuff during then. I haven't decided yet. I have to think about it. But, whether it's short stories or whatever, because I've been reading a lot of great zombie short stories recently. So that is all we have for tonight. I appreciate everyone who attended our live chat. I appreciate Mr. Anderson being here with us. I appreciate Kelsi for hosting
Oh,
with me.
thank you.
He thinks that's a good idea for him to still hang out with us, I'm
Yay.
assuming. I love that. And
Thanks for asking me to co-host for the live
yeah,
show, Kat.
always, always. Bye, Linda. We're going to be signing off, but everyone knows that y'all are all amazing. So stay amazing, be adventurous, and we still got 1.5 days left of Zombiethon. So stay away from the zombies.
Yes,
Don't
keep
let them
running.
hit
Don't
you.
stop.
Yeah, keep running. Have the heart of a Trekkie. Be
Yeah.
hopeful
Yes.
always. So thank you, everybody. See y'all soon. See y'all on Discord. See y'all on YouTube.
Thank you,
Good
guys.
night, everybody.
Live long and prosper. Yes,
Yes, that's
yes.
a great
Of
way to
course.
end our stream. Live long and prosper. Thanks, Crystal.
I can't do it though.
Me either.
Sorry, I can't do it. I never could do it. Goodbye.